Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Bimmer Barn. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the 335i belt tensioner and idler pulley assemblies, and we're going to be servicing them on my Mechanic Special 335i. Now, to talk about some of these symptoms or some of the failure causes of the tensioner or idler pulleys, usually what'll happen is you'll start to hear like a noise, like a belt squeak maybe at first, or you might hear something like a grinding or whirring noise, and that would be one of the idler or tensioner pulleys starting to fail. Now, a squeaking noise would be because the belt could be getting any sort of liquid, coolant, or oil on it, or it could be a bad idler pulley that is throwing the belt off the track, and thus it's squeaking from touching the idler pulley at an angle. Or what can happen is you'll get like a whirring noise, and it's a pretty distinct noise, and you'll know that your tensioners are failing. When you pull off the tensioner, you'll have a bad bearing, and they'll be very noisy, the old one, compared to the new ones, which are supposed to be super quiet, and they won't make a single noise once you install them. So we're going to be doing this full service today, and you can check out the kit that I used in the description. I got it from FCP Euro. It comes with everything you need. So I'm going to show you guys some tricks to getting this thing serviced pretty easily, getting all the pulleys out without taking off the front inlet tube on the turbo, and you'll get to see a before and after of the belt spinning. So let's go ahead and tear this car apart. So the special tool I like to use in order to get that tensioner relieved, whether you're getting your belt on or off, is I'll take my T60 socket. Now, if I just put a 1/2 inch driver on the end of this, it'd be too thick to get between the inlet pipe and the tensioner. So I actually go ahead and press my bit out of the socket here. You know, most bits work like this. You can pop them out of the socket. And then I'll take a 12mm and I'll put it in the closed end at an angle. So that way I can put the wrench farther away from the engine, and I'll use another wrench as well to get a little more of leverage on that. And this is just low profile enough that you can remove the tension on the tensioner assembly without removing the inlet pipe. So guys, if you're doing your belt soon, take notes. You're probably going to need something similar to this in order to service your belt. So here I've got all my new and all my old pulleys next to each other, and I'm gonna go grab the drive belt as well so we can compare everything, and I'll show you guys what new is, what worn looks like, and what bad looks like. So we're gonna start with the belt here. Now when I pull this off, I could see the stamps and the markings. This looks like an aftermarket belt, but I can't see any manufacturer here. Whereas the one that we have of Continental, it's actually marked with the manufacturer's stamp. We can see it's the exact same almost belt, but this one's clearly a Continental one. I was getting some squeaking before and a little chatter on startup, and that was telling me that the tensioner was going bad and that possibly the belt was going bad. Keep in mind, this car had some healthy oil leaks, so this belt has probably seen a lot of oil residue, and that has caused it to squeak in the past. So just replacing this as preventive maintenance and peace of mind for the next owner. Now, same as the belts, I noticed that some of the assemblies, some of the bearings on the idler pulleys and the tensioner, they actually don't seem to be all that bad. But the thing that I noticed is that they may have been changed before, but not recently. As you can see, there's a lot of buildup of dirt and grime and grease and oil on the back of these protector plates. And what these do is they sit on the back of the bearing for like the idler, for example, and they protect it from getting any dirt into the bearing here. So the best way to test your bearings on your pulleys is go ahead and push out the bolt and grab the inside, and so spin it. Now, you're not looking to spin this for a long time, but it should be 100% quiet. The louder that it is, the more grease that has escaped from the bearing, and the sooner that it is likely to fail. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up to the microphone now so you guys can hear it. So that is my old bearing. Now let's go ahead. I'll grab the same exact one from the new pile. You can hear the difference there. Clearly this is a new bearing. Clearly this one has some wear to it. Now I'll go ahead and do this for the other idler pulleys. This one actually sounds like it's good. Very similar noise. So these idler pulleys, they're stationary, they don't move. The bearings can go bad, they'll cause that grinding noise. Keep in mind, these are mounted directly to the motor, so you can kind of listen to them sometimes. Like you can listen to the bolt here and get an idea of which bearing is failing. Now finally, we have the tensioner assembly. These obviously have two bearings in them, and I feel a little bit of wear, a little bit of clicking inside of this one, so that tells me that there's something loose in there. And also what can typically happen is, the spring will start to change its characteristics due to the, heat cycles of the engine, and that'll cause the tensioner to kind of grow loose over time to the point where on startup or with different changes in the drive of the crankshaft to the belt, you'll actually have this tensioner moving a lot more than it should, and the belt can be a little loose and then cause some squeaking, some noises, and you could even have it fly off. And as we all know, we don't want to have that front main seal issue where the belt flies off and it gets sucked into the front main seal, because that would be bad. Here's the old tensioner pulley, and here's the new tensioner pulley. So as you can see, this is the new one, clearly good, and this is clearly bad. So we're going to get rid of a lot of noises with these old tensioners. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the new stuff, and then I'll show you a belt routing diagram so you guys have that in case you're doing this procedure as well, and then we should be good to go. Now before I put this tensioner assembly in, I just want to show you guys, these things come pre-tensioned, and there's this little dowel here that's holding the assembly into a locked position. So you're going to install this. It's going to look a little bit different in the installed position than the tensioner that you just took out. But once you get your belt routed correctly, you can go ahead and pull this pin out. You're going to probably have to put a little bit of pressure here, but when you pull this pin out, it's going to tighten the whole assembly, and you should be good to go. got our belt installed. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and use my tool now, my little makeshift tensioner tool, so that I can release the tension, pull that dowel out, and then we'll have full tension on the belt. And then I'm gonna show you guys a startup of before and after so you guys can see if there's any difference in the way that the belt runs. Again, most of our problems are gonna rise from sounds that we hear before that belt actually fails. So keep an ear out for any noises and check your belt to make sure that you're not getting any oil or any strands that are coming off of it showing that it's worn, and that way you don't run into any issues in the future. Alrighty everyone, so that is going to conclude our video for today. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and for those of you who haven't serviced your belt in a while, maybe this is a friendly reminder to go ahead and check the status of that belt. Make sure you don't have any bad bearings or pulleys that are on the way out, because you don't want to end up on the side of the road for something silly as a belt flying off. Now in the next episode, we're going to be taking care of the oil pan gasket on my N54, and then in the episode after that, we're going to be doing the turbo seals. So I'm going to split that into two different episodes. We're going to be pulling the subframe down first and servicing the oil pan gasket, cleaning up the bottom end of the motor, and then in the episode following that, we're going to be pulling the turbos off and rebuilding them from the inside out so that we can solve the dreaded N54 oil burning issue that all these cars seem to suffer from. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like or comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. And as always, I hope everyone has an awesome day. We'll see you in the next video.